welcome to the Rookery Waters 2-day festival, 4th and 5th of May 2019, backed by Guru. Got some excellent prizes donated by Guru for section seconds. It's a 2-day event. It's fished on Jay, Magpie and Raven here at Rookery Waters. As you can see, it's split into 6-peg sections. So we have 3 6-peg sections on Raven Lake, 4 on Magpie and 4 on Jay. Winner of the section scoring 1 point. Obviously 2 section wins is the aim, and in event of a tie it goes on weight count back. So it was 120 quid in total to enter. The 100 quid is split for the 2-day event, paying out first £1,000, second 800, third 650, fourth 550, fifth 350 and sixth 275, and we're also paying each lake winner £100 each day and £60 every 6 pegs by default. So if you come in the top 6 you don't win your section, it goes to the next angler down in the section, and then the Guru goodie buckets for section seconds, and then the Super Pool pays top 3 anglers on each lake both days. The weather on the first day has not been very good, but they're talking of a real nice Sunday, so that could play a part in who wins the festival. I think you're going to need 2 wins, possibly with a day on Magpie, just for the simple fact that Magpie can do some really big weights, especially on the second day if the weather does drop. You're going to see probably a couple of £200 plus weights on there. Festival favourites, and there's some exceptional anglers fishing the festival. Probably Jimmy Brooks, Richard Bond, Ben Townsend, Josh Pace, probably the most consistent angler in the festivals, he's always thereabouts. Gavin Butler, Mark Pollard, you know, you can never forget Mark Pollard, and a few others that I've probably missed off. I'm going to go for probably Richard Bond, Jimmy Brooks or Josh Pace at the top 3, fishing quite regularly and they're always in the frame, so that'd be my tips. We're going to talk today a little bit about who's drawn what sections and results after day 1, and yeah, stay tuned. Go through the sections, who's drawn where, and who I think will be the sort of the ones to watch for the first day. So we'll start off with Magpie, pegs 1 to 6. The early peg numbers are quite sheltered, leading to sort of 4, 5 and 6. It's quite a strong wind, which is going to make fishing a bit difficult for those down there. The early pegs, probably 1 to 3, Jack Demant's drawn a very good peg there, James Collison and Kieran Payne. If the fish start to feed shallow, it'll be hard to beat on the old cast to shallow job. James will do well on a little method chucking tight over there, so they're the 3 to watch I feel in pegs 1 to 6. Moving on to 8 to 14, it's probably the toughest section, but probably one of the fairest. We've got Tom Edwards, who just recently qualified for the Golden Reel final, Jason Collins and Gavin Butler all next to each other on 12, 13 and 14 with the wind in their face. So I think it's very cold down there, but I think as the day goes on there'll be some bigger fish caught. So for me it's between Tom, Jason and Gav for that section. Into the next section, 16 to 24, one end is completely sheltered and out of the wind where Simon Godfrey is and Matt Wild, so I expect those 2 to probably catch a few fish shallow and a real good last couple of hours down the edge on maggots and ground bait or casters and worms. So for me I would think Simon or Matt is going to win that section. Moving on to the last section on Magpie, again half of it's in shelter and the other half's sort of, well, very, very tricky conditions. And I would say Shep or Ed Blaine on 26 or 36, they'll be the ones to watch in the first bay on the right as you approach Magpie. It's more sheltered there. So they're the two on there. Moving on to Raven Lake, same story. The low numbers are more sheltered than the higher numbers. First section, Simon Wheeler on 1, he's completely sheltered there. He can fish 16 metres, where the anglers further down the section, sort of Jimmy Brooks on 9, Kev Williams, John Hall, the wind is really strong there, but hopefully they can catch a few fish down the middle, and short on maggots or maggots and ground bait or soft pellet approach normally works there. Even though Jimmy will be moaning about the wind, he's still my favourite to win that section from peg 9. He's got a little bit of room, and I think he'll do the damage later on maggots there. Next section is 11 to 20. Very consistent section, some very good anglers in there. Ross and Dave Harold next peg to each other, and you've got Danny Grimsey in there, which will all be hard to beat. So that one's quite a close section. I wouldn't like to say who's going to win that, although where Danny and Jason Gilbert and Steve Daniels and Billy Marlowe are, the wind is on their back there, so they'll be able to get across and catch a few fish early. So I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm going to say either Ross Harold or Danny Grimsey for that section. Moving on to the high numbers, the end 2 pegs 28 and 29 are very sheltered, so they'll be able to fish across, so I think they'll have a good start, but probably middle of the section, sort of 25, 26, that's normally a better area, some bigger fish. So if Tom Cole or Nigel can find them better fish, they will be my picks to do the damage. I would say to win Raven today, you're looking for probably 100 to 115 pound, I would say. I think normally on the first day, the fish tend to be a bit smaller, whereas hopefully tomorrow the mirrors and commons will start to feed and you'll need sort of a bigger weight, probably a 120 to 140 tomorrow. Moving on to Jay. Jay's probably, it is the sort of most openest lake. Fortunately, the wind is coming from probably the best direction that it could for Jay. It means that the long arm from 39 to 47 is probably the only section that is really wind affected. Most of it is either face wind or back wind, so that's worked in our favour for today's match. So in the first section you've got Josh Pace, who's one of the favourites for the festival on 7. It's not a particularly good peg, but with the wind there, he's going to be there or thereabouts to take the section. And then you've got Fishermania finalist for this year, Abby Kendall on peg 11, which is a very consistent peg, probably the most consistent peg on the lake. So she'll be between Abby and Josh, I feel, for that section. The next section again is pegs 13 to 24, is a very tough section. You've got Ben Townsend, Mark Cross, Mark Pollard, Jack Gill, Tony Fenton, you've got Wayne Byron, you've got a real hard section there. That one's very close to call. I'm going to say Polly or Jack, I feel, for the section, just because the wind's a bit more favourable there. They can get across and find the shallow water needed to do the damage on there. So I'm going to say Jack Gill or Polly would be real close. So then we move on to next section, which is 26 to 35. The wind's not too bad there. Very close section. I wouldn't like to call that one. I would say probably Stuart Bracey will do well on 35 if the wind's not too bad, and Tony Watlin and Tim Bates on 26 and 28 might be a bit more sheltered there, and there's normally some better fish later on in the margin. So any of those three will be there or thereabouts. Then the last section, which as I said earlier was really affected by the wind, I think it will be between James Borton and Richard Bond on 37 and 39. They might be a bit more sheltered. James is definitely more sheltered than Richard, but Richard is really good on these lakes, and again one of the favourites for the overall festival. So I'm going to go Richard Bond for the section on that one. Match winning weight on there, because of the wind, again I'm going to say around the £100 mark, probably about 105 to 115 pound you'll need to win the lake, and I would say £80 to win probably every section. So it'll be close, not big weights. So that's Jay. I'm going to catch up with the anglers and see what they think of the pegs and whether they're happy or not with their draw.
From peg 12 on Magpie. Don't really fancy it, to be honest, as I've got every peg in. I've got 11, 12, 13, 14 all in a row. Just got overpatch down the edge and 5 metres really, because the wind's a bit tricky. Hopefully they'll come in down the margins. But apart from that, really, see what happens. Hopefully there's a few fish down here with the wind down here, but it's a cold wind, so I don't really know.
So I've drawn peg 11 on Jay today. I'm going to be just fishing long and meat short and down the edges, just try and catch all day really. I think it's a nice peg, a nice area, so hopefully we'll catch a few.
Right, we're on the 2-day Rookery Waters Guru Festival, and I've drawn on Jay. There's Magpie and Raven in, and it's an open draw both days. I really wanted to draw Magpie because there'll be a few angles that will probably win the section both days. It's done on points, and then it'll go on to weight. And so the best lake to get a good weight would be Magpie. But with fishing, you never know. I mean, I'm peg 17 here on Jay. I'm happy with me drawing the end of like one of the spits, one of the channels. I've got the wind off me back, it's gusting a little bit, so I'm quite sheltered, so I fancy it for a few fish. I'm going to have a short line on maggot out the hand. I've got the fish to my left in the corner, that'll probably be on maggot as well. I'll have 2 lines over, one ground bait and maggot, one in front of me on the end of the island with a fish chop lemon caster. So hopefully we'll put a few fish in the net and see what we've got at the end.
Well, I've drawn peg 19 on Jay. I've never been around this bit, it always looks nice. It's very windy though, and I'd rather have been like Polly over there with it off my back. But yeah, there's been some fish here apparently, so quite fancy it. Just if they follow the wind, because it's really, really cold. Which we'll see at the end of the day. I'd rather have been on Magpie though.
Here today I've drawn Raven, drawn peg 9 on Raven. In the 2-day Guru event at Rookery Waters. Really looking forward to the event, although the wind has put a bit of damper to things. I think it'll fish fairly hard today. I've had a bit of rain. It's quite cold overnight, so I think that'll knock me on the head for a little bit, and this wind ain't going to help. But I think it'll be a good event, and thanks to Alex and the Rookery team for that.
Talk about the section winners and who's won what after day 1. We're going to start on J Lake. J Lake's quite open, so the wind has really affected the match yesterday. The first section was won with Josh Pace from peg 7. He's fished a real nice steady match, catching £102.10. A lot of fish on meat late on, the big original fish, which has boosted his weight, so he's fished a good match there. Second in that section was England Youth International Tom Moretti. He's had £76, which is not far behind Josh, so that was a close section. So the second section pegs 13 to 24. Matrix Ben Townsend has obliterated the section. He's been on peg 19. He's fished a soft pellet and micros down the edge. He's had the wind blowing from his right to left, so he hasn't been able to get across, but he's had 126.14 of a bit of everything really, a few F1s, carp, a bit of everything. And then runner up in that section was Mark Cross. He's normally consistent on that lake, and he's had £89.2 on maggots. Third section was won by Tony Watling Senior from peg 26. He's just fished 2 short lines rotating with maggots, and he's had £100.13. And runner up in that section was Stuart Bracey with 69.13. Again, he's caught close on corn and pellets, which he's very good at fishing those baits. And then the lake winner, and doing exceptionally well from peg 39, which is probably the worst area of the lake for the weather, really windy, rough, probably couldn't fish past 6 metres, but Richard Bonds fished an amazing match really, £161.4, 3 to 4 pound sort of average size carp. And runner up was James Boughton with 94.14. So all in all, considering the weather, it still fished really well, lots of 60, 70 pound weights, which is good for the weather. Even Lake was pretty tough but very fair. With the way the direction of the wind is, it's made pretty much everyone apart from 4 or 5 pegs not able to fish the far bank, which is leveler. Sorts, you know, it makes it close. In the first section, Jimmy Brooks has drawn 9, a bit of moaning and oh, I've drawn terrible at the start, and he's obliterated the section with 72.2, which was third on the lake as well. Second in that section was Andrew Deering from peg 4. He's had 52.14, so the weights are quite low for Raven, but lots of bites anyway. Next section, pegs 11 to 20. 11 is normally a standout peg in there, but with the wind it made it a little bit tricky on 11. Danny Grimsey just round the corner slightly. He's fished a really good match, just maggots out of his hands at 2+2, and he caught a few shallow and most of them on the deck. He's had 87.10, lots of small F1, so a really enjoyable day's fishing for Danny. Second in that section was Stevie Daniels on 16. He's had 69.8. I think he's just caught short all day, maggots and ground bait and pellets like most of them. And then the last section was won by Nigel Swallow on 25. He's fished a little method across due to the wind. Normally he'd be fishing the pole, but he's had 72.4 for second on the lake. So all in all, it's not fished by its normal standards, but the weather has really hampered the sport on that lake. To Magpie Lake now, 24 anglers on there, so 4 sections of 6. Magpie is the most sheltered lake. It's the original one out of the 3 match lakes, and some pegs are completely flat calm and 2 coats warmer, and some you sat there and you need your bib and brace, your windstopper, fleece, bobble hat, the lot. Considering how cold the wind has been today, the fish have actually followed that wind, and you'll see the results. I mean, the section pegs 8 to 14 down the far end with the wind howling in there. The lowest weight in the section was £80, and the top weight was £203 by Maps Jason Collins. Just fished really nice, 2 lines either side, and then your 5 metre line with pellets and micros. There's a good little battle there between him, Gavin Butler and Tom Edwards. Tom Edwards just sneaked ahead of Gav with 175.2 for second in that section, so plenty of fish to be caught there. First pegs 1 to 6. Cliff Adams fished a nice match, fishing maggots short. He's had £168.2, and runner up in that section was Charlie Stiles with 121.12. Again, bit of margin fishing, a few fish short on hard pellets. The third section, one half of it was flat calm, the other half was really windy, which is you'll see with the weights. Matt Wiles has obliterated the section with 188.6 from peg 23. He's done really well there, just fishing edges and 5 metres again. And then second in the section next to him was Simon Godfrey with 139.14. All margin fishing, which I mean, for the weather conditions you wouldn't expect to catch in the edges, but it just proves how good Magpie is. And in the last section, another close section, Wayne Shepherd's just sneaked it with 121.12 from peg 26, just ahead of Ed Blaine with 109 pound dead. So that section is normally one of the, the bigger weight sections, but it's fished a bit tricky today. So late winner was Jason Collins with 203.4. Second was Matt Wiles with 188.6, and third on the lake was Tom Edwards with 175.2.
Day 2 of the Guru 10A Festival Rookery. Won the section yesterday on Raven, Pig 9. I only had £70 though, which would have been on weight. Need a good weight today, so I'm hoping today to draw on Magpie, have a good weight to stand a chance. There's a lot of good anglers on this section yesterday, but all play for today.
Yesterday I drew peg 13 on Magpie Lake. Wind blowing up there, so I fancied it. It's freezing cold though, so I thought it'd be a bit slow to start with, and it was. I think I had 5 on the bomb early. Couldn't really catch a lot. Had a few short, and then the last 3 hours I caught really well down the edge. Probably had 50 fish on maggots and ground bait. It's a big old fish. I think I weighed 203 pounds. It was just enough to win that section and won the match overall, I think. So it's a good day really. Lovely day. Hopefully the same again today.
As you can see behind me, it's totally different weather from the day before. I definitely won't be having these windows open on day 1. I don't think we'd have any stock left in the shop. So we're going to talk about Magpie first. First section, standout there is Tom Edwards on 5. He did very well yesterday, and I think he'll be hard to beat on that section. He's sorted a few tricks out for down the edge, and he fishes pace short and catches a few bigger fish in the last couple of hours. So my money would be on Tom Edwards, and after a second the first day he'll be there or thereabouts for the top 6. The second section, 8 to 14, yesterday that had some superstars in it and was really close, and today the way it's worked out, there's 4 out of the 6 all won their sections yesterday, which means a good thing for some anglers that probably had 2 points yesterday. They might have a chance to sneak in the frame. So you've got Dave Howard on 8 and Richard Bond on 9. Bondy will take some beating. He's probably not in the better peg for the area. You'd probably fancy Ben Townsend, Cliff or Shep in towards the end of that section to catch a few more, but I think it'll be between Bondy and Ben Townsend because they've got a spare peg to one side of them, so that can pay dividends at the end. And I predict whoever probably wins that section will probably win the festival outright as well. And then the third section, you've got Jimmy Brooks on 16. 16 is not particularly the best peg in that section normally, but I just feel Jimmy's got the lake sorted, and I feel he'll probably be hard to beat in that section. I think Shannon Swallow will probably push him all the way because he's got a very good edge peg there on 24. Then the last section, for me, Danny Grimsey's going to win that section. 36 is a very good peg. He won his section yesterday with a low weight, so he's probably looking to put a big weight on the scales today to bring him back in contention, but there are some other anglers in his section that could do the damage, but I feel Danny's probably going to win the section there. So that's Magpie for day 2's draw.
Day 2 of the Guru Festival, I've drawn peg 5 on Magpie. Really fancy it, to be honest, in this section. I've got a feature, got some reeds there to fish pellets up, chuck maggots short, fish down the edges, feed maggots one side, and fish ground bait and dead maggots down the other. And I just think it's a bit more of a peg where you can catch 40-50 pounds for the first few hours while you're waiting for them to come in your edge. Like yesterday, second in the section, 175 pounds, but I just think I only had 4 fish in the first 3 hours. When here, I think you can catch more than that because you've got a feature to fish too. Hopefully you can catch a few.
Hi, my name's Richard Bond, and this is the 2-day Alex's Baits Festival at Rookery. I drew J39 yesterday. The wind was horrendous for fishing across, but I've managed to get a few down the edge later on, and ground bait mag was the best way, definitely on there now. It's starting to warm up. I had a 161 pound which won the lake in the section, which is the most important part. Today I've drawn Magpie, which is the lake everyone wants to draw because it's the big weights and that's what you need. I'm in the section that had the massive weights yesterday, but I'm in a peg that didn't have the weight that needed to yesterday. But so the lads, I think, them two over there, Ben and Cliff, are going to be hard to beat because you're going to need a big weight. But I've got a spare peg. Hopefully, if I get some down there later on, we'll have a go later on. But I mean, the plan's going to be pellet short, soft pellet, just to get some bites, because it's normally slow for the first few hours, and then normally it's a 2-hour carnage, and that's when you catch your big weights, and hopefully that'll be when the target will be. You're looking for probably 200 plus, I think, but we'll see.
16 on Magpie, I've drawn today. Fairly happy with that. Wind's blowing down here, and I'm in the section that goes to my left. Looks quite nice. I think there's a few fish caught here yesterday. So yeah, looks nice. Hopefully have a few bites. Do alright.
Right, Raven. I think Raven should fish a bit better today. They can get across. There's less wind. They can get in up the far bank in the holes, find the right depth of water that they need to be in, not foul because many fish today. I'm going to say 120 is probably going to win that today. I'm not sure where yet. There's some good angles on there, and you never can quite tell on Raven where it's going to be won from. Favourite for the first section, there's a little battle on pegs 3 and 4. Tony Evans and Mark Cross, I think they'll be the ones to watch out for in that section. And then Simon Godfrey on 9. Both Mark Cross and Simon both on second in sections yesterday, so they'll be looking to get a 1-point score today to keep them in contention. 11 to 20, you've got Josh Pace on 16. He won his section yesterday from peg 7 on J, and Gavin Butler on 11. I think it'll be a real close battle between the two. I wouldn't like to call that one. I really wouldn't. I think that'll be very, very close, and that could decide overall whoever Josh or gets into the top 6. And then the last section, 22 to 29, you got Tom Moretti on 25. He was second in his section today, but he's on a good peg today. He'll be there or thereabouts. And then you've got yesterday's outright match winner, Jason Collins, on 28. It's quite a snaggy peg, but if he can get the right elastic and get the fish out, he'll be hard to beat from there. So, and he had a big score the day before, so I think there's going to be probably 4 anglers, 5 anglers maybe on 2 or 3 points, so it's going to be close, and I think that weight advantage is going to come into contention after the second day. So we're going to talk about the draw on J Lake for day 2. Pegs 1 to 11. Peg 7 won it yesterday, but peg 11, the winds died down and you'll be able to get across there, so Andrew Deering on 11 is on a real good chance. Peg 1's Nigel Swallow, he won his section yesterday fishing a little feeder across, and peg 1 there's a lot of fish hanging around there, so I think he could do very well. And James Borton on 5, he was second yesterday, so there's a few anglers there looking to take section wins. Second section 13 to 24. I think Jack Gill will be one to beat on there, peg 19. Ben Townsend won the section from there, and Jack was in that section yesterday, so I think he's probably get it a bit more sorted today, and with less wind he'll be able to get across as well. Moving on to the next section, 26 to 35. My money's going to be on Ross Harold. He's drawn a corner peg, and he's got the next 2 pegs haven't been drawn due to anglers not turning up, so that's the only problem with these 2-day events. Anglers don't turn up, and sometimes that can give anglers a real advantage. But my money will be on Ross Harold, probably to win the section and the lake from there. and then Simon Wheeler will probably push him close because he's got spare pegs to his right. Then the last section, you've got Matt Wiles. He won his section yesterday, and you've got Stuart Bracey and Mark Pollard there. They'll be looking to take section wins after the first day. So I think that'll be a close one. Matt's on the MPEG near the bridge, but it hasn't been on form lately. It just depends if he can catch them smaller F1s. If they feed, he might have a chance of nicking the section, but that'll be a close section. So that's J Day 2. In sixth place with 3 points is Richard Bond and a weight of 276 pounds. Fifth overall with 3 points as well, but 372 pound total weight is Bubble.
Well done.
Fourth overall, Mr. Consistent on 2 points, but didn't draw as well as the others. Josh Pace, 179.
Well done, Pacey.
Third overall, 2 points. Danny Grimsey, 262. Runner up, very close weights. Jason Collins, 2 points, 281. And then this year's winner was Matt Wiles with 2 points, 296 pounds. That's it.
Day one, well, why don't you fed 5 points to Magnus down the edge, caught well late, caught a few pellets short at the start, and that was it really. £188, got first in the section, second on the lake.
And day two?
Day two, drew 47 on Jay, just caught across all day, 16 metres on pellets, just in spells really. That's it really, that's how I'm coming.
Well done.